Good day everyone, good day sir. I am Maria Jezebel Redonia and I will be continuing the report of Miss Vilma Ampo, which is William Shakespeare, and my topic is the sonnet structure. So there are 14 lines in a Shakespearean sonnet. The first 12 lines are divided into 3 quatrains with 4 lines each. In the 3 quatrains, the poet establishes a theme or problem and then resolves it in the final 2 lines called the couplet. So the rhyme scheme of the quatrain is A B A B, C D C D, E F E T. The couplet has the rhyme scheme, which the sonnet structure is commonly called the English sonnet or the Shakespearean sonnet. To distinguish it from the Italian Petrarchan sonnet, from which has 2 parts, a rhyming octave or A B B A A B B A, and a rhyming sestet C D C D C D. So the Petrarchan sonnet style was extremely popular with Elizabethan sonnetteers, which much to Shakespearean's disdain to mock the conventional and excessive Petrarchan style in Sonnet 1, 321. So only 3 of Shakespearean's 154 sonnets do not conform to this structure, which is the Sonnet 99 that has 15 lines, and Sonnet 126 which has 12 lines, and last, the Sonnet 145 which is written in iambic tetrameter. So now let us move to romantic poetry. The love poems of English Renaissance or late 15th to early 17th century are considered known to be some of the most romantic of all time. Many of the most famous poets are more well known as Elizabeth era, Christopher Marlowe from 1564 to 1593, Ben Jonson from 1572 to 1637, and the most renowned of all, William Shakespeare, which is from 1564 to 1616. So throughout the medieval period, which preceded the Renaissance, poetry changed dramatically throughout England and Western Europe slowly, and with influence from movements like courtly love, the epic ballads of battles and monsters like Beowulf were transformed into romantic adventures like the Arthurian legends. So these romantic legends were the precursor to the Renaissance, and as it unfolded, literature and poetry evolved still further and took on a decidedly romantic aura. A more personal style developed, and poems clearly became a way for a poet to reveal his feelings to the ones he loved. So in the mid to late 16th century, there was a virtual flowering of poetic talent in England, influenced by the art and literature of the Italian Renaissance a century before. So here are some examples of flowering of poetic talent in England. So first one is Whoever Loved That Love Not at First Sight by Christopher Marlowe. It lies not in our power to love or hate, for will in us is overruled by fate. When two are stripped longer, the curse begin. We wish that one should love, the other win. And one specially do we affect of 2 gold ingots, like in each respect the reason no man knows. Let it suffice what we behold is ensured by our eyes, where both deliberate the love is light, and whoever loved that love not at first sight. So that is the poetic flowering for Christopher Marlowe. Next poem is by Sir Walter Raleigh, which is The Silent Lover Part 1. So here goes the poem. Passions are likened best to floods and streams. The shallow murmur, but the deep are dumb. So when affection yields discourse, it seems the bottom is but shallow when they come. They that are rich in words discover that they are poor in that which makes a lover. So that is from Mr. Walter Raleigh's poem. So next poem is by Ben Jonson, which is Come, My Celia. Come, my Celia, let us prove while we may the sports of love. Time will not be ours forever. Heat, length, are good, well severe. Spend not then his gifts in vain. Suns that set may rise again, but if once we lose this light, this with us perpetual night. Why should we defer our joys? Fame and rumor are but toys, cannot we delude the eyes of a few poor household spies, or his easier ears beguile, sore moved by our wile. This no sin loves fruit to steal, but the sweet theft to reveal, to be taken, to be seen. These have crimes accounted been. The last one, or the last poem, is by William Shakespeare, which is the Sonnet 18, the Shall I compare day to a summer's day? Shall I compare day to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometimes declines, by chance or nature's changing curse and dream. But the eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe, or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. So that is the poem from England. So now let us move to lesson 3, which is Elizabeth and Age. So what is Elizabeth and period? So the Elizabethan era was the epoch in English history of Queen Elizabeth's first reign in 1558 to 1603. Historians often depict it as the golden age in English history. The symbol of Britannia was first used in 1572 and often thereafter to mark the Elizabethan age as a renaissance that inspired national pride through classical ideals, international expansion, and naval triumph over the chatted Spanish foe. In terms of the entire century, John Guy from 1988 argues that England was economically healthier, more expansive, and more optimistic under the Tudors than at any time in 1,000 years. So Queen Elizabeth I from September 7, 1533 to March 24, 1603 was a queen regnant of England and Ireland until her death. She was the fifth and the last monarch of the Tudor dynasty, and in 1558, Elizabeth succeeded the Catholic Mary I, during whose reign was been imprisoned for nearly a year on suspicion of supporting Protestant rebels. So in terms of culture, it has often been said that the Renaissance came late to England, in contrast to Italy and the other states of continental Europe. So traveling musicians were in great demand at court, in churches and countries' houses, and at local festivals. So the popular culture showed a strong interest in folk songs and ballads, while the fine arts in England during the Tudor and Stuart eras were dominated by foreign and important talent. Yet, within this general trend, a native school of painting was developing. Then, within William Shakespeare's at his peak, as well as Christopher Marlowe and many other playwrights, actors, and theaters constantly busy, the high culture of the Elizabethan Renaissance was best expressed in its theater. So, in England, it had more well-educated upper-class women than was common anywhere in Europe. Spanish and Italian visitors to England commented regularly and sometimes caustically on the freedom that women enjoyed, and in England, in contrast to her home cultures, Elizabeth's unmarried status inspired a cult of virginity. In poetry and portraiture, she was depicted as a virgin or a goddess or both, not as a normal woman. She emphasized the maternalism theme, saying often that she was married to her kingdom and subjects. So in science, lacking a dominant genius or formal structures for research, the Elizabethan era nonetheless saw significant scientific progress. Much of this scientific and technological progress related to the practical skills of navigation. So English achievements in exploration were noteworthy in the Elizabethan era. In this way, the first attempt at English settlement in North America occurred in this era, which is Elizabeth period. So in terms of religion, Elizabeth reinstated that the Protestant Bible and English Mass that Mary the First had abolished, yet for a number of years refrained from persecuting Catholics. So the Pope, after declaring her heretic, sent Jesuits and seminarians to secretly evangelize and support Catholics. After several plots to overthrow her, Catholic clergy were mostly considered to be traitors, which persons who publicly supported Catholicism were excluded from the professions, sometimes fined and imprisoned. So that is all about my report. I hope you guys learned something. Thank you.